G'day. I thought I'd try something a little different today, so welcome to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, just to be clear, I'm not a pilot, I have no flight experience, so this will not necessarily be a very professional flight. I just have a tragic enthusiasm for aviation. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get started. Okay, so let me talk you through the flight I've got set up right now. So we'll be departing down here from Melbourne. Melbourne because that's where I get my accent. We'll be leaving Melbourne Airport from here at ramp 63. Now from what I can tell, ramp 63 is down here, away from like the main terminals. So I think a private jet service leaves from there. I'm not too familiar with the airport, so I couldn't say for sure, but seems fairly suitable for what we're trying to do today. So speaking of private jets, we're flying the CJ4. I quite like this plane. It's simple, but also quite high performance. Like it takes off like a missile, it flies really high, gets us there in no time. For failures, I'm going to leave all that off because I'm not ready to fly on hard mode. And customization, we're going to be using the town number Victor Hotel 250. In Australia, all aircraft registrations start with Victor Hotel, and then they're meant to have 3 letters after them. Now, because with 3 letters you only get about 16,000 different or so combinations, most of them are already taken by other registered aircrafts, so we're going to go with a fictional town number of 3 numbers instead. I could have picked the classics of 069 or 420, but I've gone with 250 because there's an old fable in Chinese culture which is quite long and convoluted, so I won't go into it today, but just know that 250 is the number of the moron, which for what I'm trying to do is probably pretty accurate. Now we're going to be taking off and flying the non-X departure up to the non-X waypoint here, flying all the way up to Sydney. We'll be flying over Sydney Airport, and I'm just going to leave the approach to the default Odell or O'Dale arrival because this will fly us over the city, up and around for a landing on runway 16 right, which will give us a nice view of the city as we fly over. So for flight conditions, I've set us up to be departing at 6:15 AM. So as we're heading eastwardly, this will give us a nice view of the sunrise as we start to get closer and closer to Sydney. I'm leaving all other players on, all air traffic on. Everything else is pretty much live. The only thing we've changed here is the time of day. We'll be cruising at 33,000 feet. Because we're heading west to east, we need to be at an odd numbered 1,000 feet. Now, from what I understand, you only want to spend about 10% of your entire flight in climb, because the higher you go, the more you have to come back down again when you get to the other end. And so going too high is kind of inefficient. So strictly speaking, we probably don't need to be this high, but I do want to get above the clouds and get a nice view of that sunrise. I should also mention that we're flying IFR, which means we'll be pretty much letting the autopilot do most of the work for us, and air traffic control will be guiding us the entire way. Okay, with all that set up, I think we're ready to go. Oh yeah, I should mention that I'll be flying with a controller today because I don't have any fancy flight sticks or whatnot. I find it's perfectly fine for the most part. It does make those finer controls a little tricky, but I think since we'll be letting the autopilot do most of the flying, we should be okay. Okay, here we go. In the cockpit of our CJ4, cold and dark, everything's off. So let's go and turn on some of the power here. Let's check out before engine start checklist. Now, one thing I should note that most aircrafts should have a more extensive checklist for things like taxi, takeoff, landing, taxiing. Did I say taxiing already? Anyway, in this aircraft we only have enough to get us started, and then everything else you're just going to have to raw dog. So let's start with park brake. So that's pull, that's set, that is set. Power levels, idle, generator switches on and on. Good. Power switch on. Dark again. Let's turn the flashlight back on. Not ready for that yet. And then avionics master set to dispatch. So dispatch is kind of just like power save mode. So when we while we're checking our flight computers and whatnot, we're not draining the aircraft's battery. So, okay, so now that that's all going, let's get some lights on in here. Doot, 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 doot. Whoa, bit of a lag there. And doot. Okay, now we can turn the flashlight off. Okay. Maybe we'll light just for now. Right, so let's check our flight computer. So flight plan, Melbourne and Sydney, very good. Don't have a flight number, don't have a route, don't know what any of that means anyway. Legs, okay, we're going to Nonix, and blah blah. Okay, we need to set a performance for our airspeed data shop. So let's go to, where are we? Take off. Okay. So from what I understand, I should note that I don't have any mods installed for this game. From what I understand, there are mods for this aircraft that'll give it a bit more functionality, because the way that the simulator has simulated this aircraft, a lot of the stuff is disabled. So stuff like that, inoperant, less inoperant, you know, even the seatbelt signs here, inoperant, can't do anything with them. So a lot of the functionality of a real aircraft is basically non-existent in the game, so we're going to have to make it up as we go. I mean, if you're a real pilot, you'd know how to do this and calculate things properly, but never mind. Yeah, so we'll be taking off here with flaps 15. Now, from what I understand, the real aircraft, the takeoff speed should be calculated for you by the computer. We don't have that, and I haven't read up on how to actually calculate that myself yet. So we'll just be using numbers that I know work. So it'll be V1 to 90 knots, rotate to 110, and V2 to 130. Now, strictly speaking, we're traveling fairly light today, so these might be a bit overkill, but I mean, this plane will just shoot down the runway like a missile, so it won't really matter too much. Let's see. That all set. So now that that's set, we have some speeds for our departure. So we'll be taking off at 130 knots, and we want to be at around 170 knots when we get to our first waypoint of Rockpool, and then 210 at Sally, and etc. etc. Okay, so with that set, let's tune into AAAAHH. So one thing that confuses me about the airport chart here is you've got two frequencies here for the AAAAHH. As what I found is one of them tends to be not handled by the simulator and the other one does. So let's try, I think the second one, 114.1, that usually works. Nope. Okay, so 118.0. Clear. 8.0. And give us some weather forecasts or from weather reports.
Melbourne Airport Information India 20000 Zulu. Wind 258 at 8. Visibility 6. Sky condition 700 feet. Scattered 4,400 feet scattered. Temperature 14. Dew point 13. QNH 29.902. Visual runway tree 4 in use. Landing and departing runway tree form. DSR aircraft, say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller, on initial contact, you have India.
Okay, we have weather information India. We have
Melbourne Airport Information
quiet.
India 20000
Let's
Zulu.
tune you to ground. 21.7. Now, strictly speaking, you can click the buttons here to change your radio, but I prefer to use the actual aircraft interface. Now, as I was saying, our altimeter settings is just a standard setting, so we don't need to touch that. So, and that's what I was really mostly checking for from that weather report. Okay, so now that we're tuned to ground, let's get our IFR clearance. So this is for our departure.
Cessna Victor Hotel 250 is cleared to Sydney Airport at file. climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure frequency is 118.9er, squawk 2741.
Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 cleared to Sydney Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 34 climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure on 118.9er, squawk 2741.
Cessna 250 readback is correct. Contact ground on 121.7 when ready to taxi.
It's kind of nice that the simulator has a transcript of everything that's said, because normally you'd probably think you'd have to write all that stuff down. Now the one thing we need right now is our transponder code 2741. So let's go down here and 2741. While we're here, let's tune our secondary radio to the emergency frequency. We'll just monitor that. I don't think the simulator ever does anything with that frequency, but from what I understand, that's like the civil aviation emergency frequency that all pilots and can communicate on when they're in trouble. Okay, so let's take a look around here. Now I'm pretty sure the real Melbourne airport, this area will be much better lit. I couldn't see an airport parking area this dimly lit at night. Melbourne Airport tends to be one of those airports that hasn't been given much TLC by the developers yet, so we'll just have to make do with what we got. Okay, so now we have that clearance. We can't go forward very much because that's the end of the apron. So let's ask for a bit of a pushy push back to this line so that we can have an easier time to get out. So park brake off. Let's tune to ground services. Ask for pushback.
Melbourne ground, Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 requesting pushback.
Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 pushback request accepted.
Okay, now this guy here will take his little tug, connect to our front landing gear, and push us back. And we want to go to about where that line is. And of course he's melting through the plane. This is the one thing about not having any actual flight experience, is that sometimes it's hard to tell what's a bug in the simulator and what's actually supposed to happen. Okay, wait for the line to reach our wings. That'll about do.
Melbourne ground, Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 requesting the end of pushback.
Cessna Victor Hotel.
Okay, this will line us up perfectly.
Pushback received.
Back in the cockpit, park brake back on. Okay, now let's get ready to start our engines. So before we do that, let's go ahead and turn our beacon light and nav lights on. So the beacon light, that's the flashing red light there. That basically tells ground crew that our engines are about to come on. So it warns them to take a couple of steps back. And let's bring up a checklist here. Start engines. So right engine, start. There. Okay, so wait for our inner turbine to reach about 20%, and then we'll start the outer turbine. Chug, 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 chug. That'll about do. Open up the cover, hit go. So with our thrust at idle, this will go up to about 60%, and this will go up to about 20%. Keep watching our temperatures here. Now I have set all the failures modes to be off, so temperature and everything should be fine. Okay, that's reaching about 20. That's reaching about 60. Everything was fine. All right, time for the left engine. Doop. Again, wait for that to reach 20. Okay, that'll about do. Cover, go, close the cover. Okay, that's done, that's done, that's done, that's done. Okay, all our warnings have gone away now that our engines are running. It's getting about 60, it's about 20. Okay, looking good. After engine, avionics master switch. Back to on. So now we're not running completely off battery power. Now that our engines are running, we don't have to worry about us draining the battery. Lights, hey. Again, not sure if that's a bug or not. I'm going to turn logo lights on, so that's going to turn on the light on our tail fin there, just to give us a bit more visibility. Sorry. I'm going to leave taxi lights off until we're ready to go, and then same with landing lights. We're going to leave that off until we're ready to take off. I'm going to leave strobe lights off until we're ready to take off as well. From what I understand, especially at night, the strobe lights can be quite blinding, especially for anyone taxiing behind you. So we're just going to be kind to people and leave that off for now. Park brake off. Okay, so before we take off, I'm going to check that anyway, because obviously we can't go anywhere with the park brake on. But before we go anywhere, let's set up our autopilot. So, flight director on. What did ATC tell us before? Climb to 6,000 feet. So if we look here, this is all our parameters for the autopilot. This is our altitude that we're trying to aim for. So up to 6,000. And I remember our, okay, actually first of all, so flight level change. So that's the mode we want for our climb. We're gonna increase our climb speed to 170 knots because that's what the computer told us before. It's really tiny there. I don't know why aircraft interfaces are so poorly done, in my opinion at least. But that should be set. Okay, we're taking up runway 34, so let's synchronize our heading to 340. Okay, and we'll switch to heading mode, so this will fly us fly runway heading until we're ready to turn to our first waypoint. We're going to turn on our yaw damper now, and turn on our half bank, so that we don't bank too steeply. And I think that's it for the autopilot. And our V speeds, our V speeds aren't showing up. Oh, our V speeds are reset. Okay. 9010 130. Okay, that's set there. Again, not sure if that's a bug or what. Now, from what I understand, you can also set, well, in a real aircraft, you should be able to set your landing speeds as well. I have no idea how to do that in this aircraft. But what I will be doing when it comes time to land is I'll be taking the rule of thumb of your stall speed, which as it says here is 94 knots, multiply that by 1.23, so you get our approach speed, well, our final approach speed. So I think that's about 115 knots, so we'll be aiming for that as we get to Sydney. Now with that all set, I think we're ready to taxi. So let's ask for taxi clearance. Let's go back to clearance.
Melbourne ground, Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 with India ready to taxi IFR.
Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 250 taxi to and hold short of runway 34 using taxiway Delta. Contact tower on 120.5 when ready.
Taxi to and hold short runway 34 using taxiway Delta Cessna 250.
Okay, ready to taxi. Taxi light on. Now I have turned on the taxi strip, so this is the flight simulator guiding us to the runway, because here's another interesting thing about the way they've modeled Melbourne Airport. We're down here. This is taxiway whiskey and kilo, not delta. And from everything I've seen on this chart, there is no runway taxiway delta. You got Alpha here, you got Echo here, you got November here, you got Charlie here, Beta, Bravo here. I don't see Delta. And this should be a fairly recent chart too, so as far as I can tell, the simulator just hasn't really done much with Melbourne Airport. Well, that's all good. Let's just follow the blue line, or the blue arrows, and actually, before we go, let's just check our control surfaces. So ailerons, okay, elevator, okay, rudder, okay, flaps, okay, spoilers, ah, there they are. Okay, spoilers good. All right. Now again, that's probably on the checklist somewhere, but I'm doing all this from memory. So if I forget any steps, please go easy on me. Okay, so park brake off, and let's get ready to roll. Now again, I'm pretty sure in the real airport, the taxiway will be much better lit under these visual conditions. Well, bit of a lag there. Which is another reason why I need to have these this navigation strip turned on, because I cannot for the life of me tell where the taxiway is at this point. And my landing, or my taxi lights, aren't really doing a whole lot. But I'll keep them there on anyway, just to follow protocol. Down you can see where we set our heading, so that's the direction I'm taking off on. See some other name tags off in the distance there. Those are the other players that we've opted to leave on. There's our rudder to steer. Well, it's not really the rudder that's steering, but I think the front nose gear and the rudder pedals all connected to the same thing. Okay, approaching the red signs there, that means our runway hold short lines. So whoops, comes up to that line and stop. Yeah, park brake on. Okay. Strictly speaking, we're a bit over the hold short line, so the controllers are not gonna like that, because technically now I'm on the runway. So let's try and get off the runway as soon as we can. So I'm going to go ahead and increase our flaps to flaps 15. And I'm going to tune into the tower, so 120.5. And request for takeoff.
Melbourne Melbourne Tower Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 ready for IFR departure runway tree 4. Cessna Victor Hotel, 250, hold short runway tree 4. Traffic is generic on final.
Okay, we're holding short.
Hold short runway tree 4 Cessna 250.
So, there he is. Well, that's kind of exciting. It's like being stuck at a level crossing. So I think this is a live ATC. This is an actual aircraft that's landing at Melbourne Airport right now. And these, I think, are other players. Fairly certain they're other players. It's kind of high to be landing on runway 34. What's he doing, a go around? Nope, he's just landing halfway down the runway. Okay there, bud. I guess he saw me being on the runway and was like, nope, don't want anything to do with that guy. Any day now, Jetstar. I guess this is what they get for being a budget airline. Nah, I'm just kidding. Hello there, Storm Boy. Jetstar 890906, please. Now, of course, this isn't the actual aircraft. Alright, we're ready to go. So, landing lights on, strobe lights on. Park brake off.
Melbourne Tower Jetstar Niner 777 miles south inbound 4 DME runway tree 4 approach. Jetstar Niner 77 Melbourne Tower. QNH 29er decimal 9er 2 wind 25 feet at 8. Cleared 4 DME runway tree 4 approach. Cleared 4 DME runway tree 4 approach Jetstar Niner 77.
Anyway, as I was saying before, I don't think that the game actually tracks real aircraft one-to-one, but they just use flight information to simulate how the aircraft would fly in the game world.
121.7 for Jetstar 89906.
Okay, fasten your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, because here we go.
Jetstar Niner 77
Take off power set,
feet at 8.
airspeed active,
Runway tree 4.
80 knots, V1,
Cleared to land
rotate,
runway tree 4 Jetstar Niner
V2,
77.
Aussie rect, gear up, flaps up, set cruise power, autopilot on. So not cruise power, climb power.
Cessna 250, contact Melbourne departure on 118.9er.
Okay, we're being handed off.
118.9er, Cessna 250.
118.9er. Dude.
Melbourne departure Cessna Victor Hotel 250 is passing 2,500 feet, climbing 6,000 feet.
Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 Melbourne departure QNH 29er.9er 2 continues with ROKDL as planned.
Okay. Switch us over to nav mode. And now our plane will be following this nice magenta line, which we can zoom out a bit here. Actually, while we're here, let's set this MFD to weather mode. Oh, it looks like there's no clouds today. Wait, that can't be right. I see clouds there. Oh, well, not important. Anyway, so here's our left turn coming up. Whoa, 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 whoa. We are speeding way too fast. Keep an eye on our speed. I think the speed limit below 10,000 feet is 250. And we're very close to blowing past that.
Climb and maintain flight level 190.
Okay,
and
climb
maintain
to
flight level
190.
190, Cessna 250.
Yeah, come on, come on, come on. 190. Flight level change. We're gonna go back down to 180 knots. Set our climb power to about 80%. See what I mean by this thing just takes off like a rocket?
Cessna 250 contact Melbourne Center on 124.0.
124.0 for Cessna 250.
Oop.
Melbourne Center Cessna Victor Hotel 250 is at
Let's do
8,700
the 170.
flight level
Oh, we're heading to
190.
Sally now, so 210. So
Cessna Victor Hotel 250
that
Melbourne
to-
Center QNH 29er.9er 2 continue to Sally as planned.
now it'd be handy to have a co-pilot to do some of that for me and keep an eye on the airspeed and whatnot. But my understanding is the CJ4 is the fastest plane that can be operated by a single pilot. So technically we're not doing too bad here. I probably should turn off the little lights here because we've already got these turned on. We're out. Okay, we're over 10,000. So lights off, or landing lights off at least. Just to double check that, they said yeah 29.902, so don't need to touch our air pressure there at all. They're both there and there. See you later, Melbourne. Once we get past Sally to Nonix, we want to be flying at 250. Okay, so we're just passing Sally now. We're tracking to Nonix, so let's increase our speed a bit. And that's hard to see. 242, 250. Give a bit more power as we try and climb. And already we can see some of that sunrise. Now, as we are flying through clouds, we've got to be careful of icing conditions. Now, from what I understand, whenever your RAM air temperature here drops below 10 degrees and you see visible moisture, i.e. clouds, you should turn your anti-ice on. Now, one thing I have noticed with the simulator is that this temperature, well, at least this reading, doesn't seem to change. So we may get icing conditions even though this stays at 19 degrees. And we can tell we've got icing conditions because this number will disappear because our pitot tubes have frozen up. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. As we approach 19,000 feet, we'll get ready to throttle back. We don't want to be flying too fast. Okay, here comes the box. Up to 310.
Climb and maintain flight level 310 Cessna 250.
Flight change again to 250 knots. Power up. And we're in the climb. Now remember, we're cruising at 33,000, so this is still 2,000 feet below our cruise altitude. How are we doing out here? Yeah, we're in Fluffville. We're also in icing condition territory, so let's be careful. Instruments are reading all good. I do like as they simulate the reflection of the dash on the windshield as well here. So strictly speaking, when I had the lights on before, I'm surprised we didn't get more glare off the windshields. Okay, everything all good. Outside. So long, folks. I wonder if we can see the Southern Cross while we're here. I'm having no trouble spotting. Is that it? Is that the Southern Cross? Kind of looks like it. Yeah, anyway. Now, of course, everybody in Australia knows what the Southern Cross looks like because it's on our national flag, but I still have trouble identifying it in the night sky. There's like 5 stars that form the constellation, but like I tend to see it like everywhere. Anyway. So we'll check our instruments again. Airspeed is good. Our climb rate is good. Power setting is good. Flaps are good. Fuel is good. Got a left, right. Here we go. Right turn, sorry. Right turn come up here. I have to admit, sometimes I get confused between my left and right, which would be not a good thing if I was actually flying an aircraft.
Cessna 250, contact Melbourne Center on 125.2.
125.2 Cessna 250.
So being handed off again to nope, 5.2. How do you do?
Melbourne Center Cessna Victor Hotel 250 is at flight level 275, climbing flight level 310.
Cessna Victor Hotel 250, Melbourne Center, continue to weather as planned.
Yeah, pretty sure that's a bug. But you know, fair enough for a game this complicated where they use like satellite data to map the entire globe. Yeah, the odd bugs are gonna happen here and there. The important thing is, we've got that lovely sunrise coming up. So aircraft is banking. Why are we banking? No, okay, we're leveling off. Or leveling out, sorry, not leveling off, we're still climbing. And speaking of climbing, we're approaching our assigned altitude. So get ready to throttle back soon. Not that much, yeah, not that much wind, so we shouldn't be rocking back and forth too much. Not quite sure what's going on with the autopilot there. Just watch our altitude as we get closer to 31,000. Okay, we're 500 below, so let's throttle back a bit now. As the plane levels off, the airspeed will increase, so we'll need to throttle back to compensate.
Set the 250 climb and maintain flight level 330.
And there we go, up to our cruise altitude.
Climb and maintain flight level 330 Cessna 250.
Flight level change, 250 knots, throttle up. And up we go. Of course, we're not going to go very high to get to 33,000, so I'm just going to watch our airspeed again. Just taking a look at our legs here. 285. Okay, so we can go a little faster at this point, according to the computer. So now that I've pushed our airspeed limit up, plane's going to want to level off for a little bit to gain some airspeed, and then keep climbing again. Yeah, we've got to watch the red line there. That's the do not overspeed line. And as we go higher and the air gets thinner, that number or that red line will come lower and lower. But for us, because we're pretty much already there, that should be okay. Just throttle up a little more, let's get a little more power so we can get to 285 knots. And as we get to about there, we should start pitching up again. Here we go. We're climbing again. Okay, that's all very good. So I'll map out a bit more. Let's see how far we have to go. Okay, so we had a left turn come up at Waza. Okay, 35,000. Let's throttle back a bit. So we really do not want to go into the red line there. Here comes the box. The box. Okay, so airspeed is stable. And once our altitude is stable, then we can be a bit more hands off. Because as we approach altitude, our airspeed is probably going to creep up a little. So I'll throttle back a bit. A little bumpy here, that's okay. And 33,000, there she is. Now, I'm a bit uncomfortably close to the red line here, so I'm going to throttle back a bit, maybe to about 80% N1. Just keep an eye on the speed there. If it comes back to about 175, I think that'll be a good number to be at. Now, keep in mind that's only indicated airspeed. Actual speed, ground speed, is 450 knots, and our true airspeed is 440 knots to 440. Well, you know, you can see that there. Of course, as the air gets thinner, the higher we go, there's less air entering our pitot tube, so it's registering a lower number. And this has just been calculated. I'm not sure how that calculates it. It might be off GPS, might just be based on an offset. The point is, we're in our cruise now, and I don't think we need to touch anything. We just let the autopilot do the rest. It's a left turn coming up, and after that, I would turn off the fasten seatbelt signs if they worked, but nope, not on this plane. Let's just wait for that left turn. Make sure everything is as expected. You start seeing the sunrise now. The colours of the clouds are changing. Very nice. Ooh, look at that. Okay, any minute. Maybe we'll zoom let's zoom in a bit. Okay, we still have a bit to go to Waza. That's still 10 nautical miles. Take a look at the... I kind of like it how you can see the shadow of the Earth being cast over the sky like that. So that's the umbra of the shadow, and that's the penumbra up here. As the sun comes over the horizon. Not something you get to see very often at ground level. I also don't come up very high at this level either, so I'm not really sure if that's how it normally looks, but if it does, that'd be pretty spectacular. Now waiting for that left turn. Here it comes. Okay, and we're leveling out. Alrighty then, ladies and gentlemen, you are now free to move about the cabin. Now if you... Oh wait, no, spoke too soon. Okay, maybe this time now? Nope. Well, like I said, it's a good thing I don't fly planes for real. Otherwise, you probably would have taken a bit of a tumble back there. Yeah, again, not much wind happening up here. I don't get why the plane's oscillating so much. Like I said, not sure if it's meant to do that or if that's a bug. I think we should be fairly stable now. Okay, so now if you want to walk around the cabin, be my guest. But do so at your own risk. Meanwhile, let's take a look from the outside of the aircraft. I love the colours of the clouds that the sun is casting over them. Very beautiful. It's very, very beautiful. See a bit of our jet exhaust trailing behind us there. Yeah, so those blinky white lights there, those will be our strobe lights. Now I'm pretty sure the simulation here doesn't really do those lights justice because they're kind of like camera flashes. They're very, very bright. But yeah, look at that. Any moment now we should see the sun peek over the horizon. Oh, I think we see it right there. Look at that. Right on cue. Just double check our instruments while we're in here. Altitude looks good, airspeed looks good. Probably throttle up a little. 85. Should hopefully get us up to 275 maybe. Oh, this computer say we should be at. So 285. Well, clearly we're not going to 285 because that's well within the red zone now. Well, just within the red zone. And that's past Monzo, the Dubis. Yeah, so it's 285 the rest of the way. And then 175 we'll get to Erden as we get closer to our approach. And it says it wants us at 150, landing on runway 16 right. But 150 is a tad fast, so we're going to be, again, we're going to be going for 115. Otherwise, that's all good. Oh yeah. Look at that. Or as I say up in Scotland, ah, look at that! I mean, it leaves me pretty speechless. I know this is only a simulation of the sunrise, but even so, it's really quite beautiful. Take a look inside, make sure nothing's gone awry. We're speeding up a little too fast. Let's throttle back a bit. Okay, everything else looks okay. Alright, back to perving at the sunrise. Oh yeah. I gotta admit, you know, it looks even better with the clouds there. Because a few times I've tried this practice flying from Melbourne to Sydney before, and I usually just leave the weather on as clear skies. But with the clouds there, and the way that they shift colours, it's, you know, it really adds to the I guess the majesty of the sunrise. look at that glisten. Let's just check our instruments again. Okay, alright, we're happy with that airspeed. Yeah, approaching Dubis. Just zoom out a bit, see how far we have to go. Alright, so we're about halfway there. Let's check our conditions here. Fuel's good. Throttle is good. Airspeed is good. Altitude is good. Yeah, whatever. That all seems sensible to me. That's all good down there. Okay. Back to the outside. Oh, look at that lens flare. That's some good lens flare. Now, one thing I don't quite get about this simulation is that in the cockpit, it always shows two pilots when you're in the external view. But when you jump back inside, there's no one there. But who was phone? Yeah, I don't know why they do that either. Oops. There we go. Now the cruise at this point is... oh wait, got another twin coming up. Okay, so we'll probably have a few more left turns. Probably another one when we get to Charlie Bravo here. Didn't realize that... oh yeah, okay, so it's not exactly straight. Fair enough. Again, a real pilot wouldn't be surprised by that. You don't want surprises as a proper pilot. You want to be ahead of the aircraft. You don't want the aircraft to be flying you. But like I said, I'm just an amateur. Now, I don't quite get this oscillating behavior the autopilot's having, going first left and then right and then left and right until it finally levels out. I think that's new with the latest update, and I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to do that. Okay, of course there's another player a bit further ahead, probably also at Sydney Airport from the direction he's at. Now it would be quite convenient if in real aircraft you could see like the name tags of other aircraft in the sky. I think proper like actual aircraft, they have a TCAS system, which is traffic collision and avoidance, which you can turn on here, but it doesn't really. Let's see if I can turn it on in our MFD here. And it, yeah, toggle TCAS. And it doesn't do much because there's no one else in the sky with us. But you can basically toggle TCAS on and it'll paint little markers where other planes are. And so you can kind of see where you are relative to them and whether you're close to having a collision or not. But I think have them, you know, in a name tag on a HUD outside your window like that, that'd be pretty convenient. Says you have to look down all the time. And also much harder to miss. Actually, much easier to miss because you don't want to be hitting them. Oh, yeah. Oop.
Melbourne Center on 133.15.
Turn it off again.
133.15 for Cessna 250.
Doot.
Melbourne Center, Cessna Victor Hotel, 250, flight level 330.
Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 Melbourne Center. Continue as planned.
Okay, so we're getting passed from controller to controller all the way along that route. That's pretty much how IFR goes, as far as I understand. Now it's kind of pretty much going to be like that for the rest of the cruise until we get ready to descend. So I may edit some of this out just to save us a bit of time.
Cessna 250, contact Melbourne Center on 119.5.
Yeah, hand it off again.
Going to 119.5 Cessna 250.
119.5.
Melbourne Center, Cessna Victor Hotel, 250, flight level 330.
Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 Melbourne Center. Continue to appear as planned.
Okay, now as we get closer to Amir, we'll probably get Acmere, sorry. Well, I'll probably be told to descend.
Cessna 250 descend and maintain flight level 230.
Oh, there we go.
Descend and maintain flight
Down
level
we go.
230,
So we're getting ready
Cessna
to
250.
descend on our way into Sydney Airport. So descend is kind of like climb, but in reverse, obviously. So we're gonna set our altitude to 230. 230, yep. And instead of doing flight change mode, we're going to go vertical speed mode. And we're going to descend at a rate of 1500 feet per minute. As seen there. And we're going to throttle back to thrust idle as we head down. This will help control our airspeed and will also let us descend a little steeper. Because the last thing you want is to descend so slowly that you'll fly over the top of the runway that you're meant to try and land on. Done that a few times, it's kind of embarrassing. So of course, as we're closer to 23,000, we're going to have to throttle up again, because we don't want our speed to drop too far, because then we'll stall. But so far, everything looks good. I see a few more people up ahead there. They're probably all congregating around Sydney Airport. We want to be below 250, below 10,000 feet, and we want to be, according to this, below 200 before we can lower our gear and flaps. Now usually I come down to about 185 before I start lowering gears and flaps, and normally I do that at our initial waypoint, so our initial fix. So as we get into runway 16, our initial fix here is at Erden. And then we have our final fix here at Igala. So I'm going to lower 15 degrees of flaps and our landing gear here at Erden, and then 30 degrees of flaps here at our final approach fix at Igala. And that should hopefully slow us down enough to about 115 knots by the time we get to the runway threshold. And looking at the speed here, looking good, looking good.
Cessna 250, contact Melbourne Center on 129.8.
Turn it off again.
129.8 Cessna 250.
Decimal 8.
Melbourne Center, Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 is at flight level 295, descending flight level 230.
Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 Melbourne Center. Continue to appear as planned.
Now again, as we go and descend through the clouds, we might encounter icing conditions, despite the fact that our RAM air temperature here reads 19 degrees. So again, keep an eye out on the airspeed reading here. If it disappears, we turn on anti-ice, which is conveniently down here. Now I used to keep those on like for the entire flight, but don't think it's necessary. And from what I understand, it actually degrades the performance of your aircraft because you're diverting power from the engines to the anti-ice system. Not that that's a huge deal when you're traveling this light and only traveling this far, but I don't know, for the sake of completeness, and efficiency, I guess, let's not use what we don't need to use when we don't need to use it. How are we looking? Oh, it's so fluffy. So fluffy. Okay, airspeed is good. Altitude so far so good. Got a right turn coming up when we get to Acmere here. And that should put us on course to these guys over here. So I can only surmise that that's where, that's Sydney Airport, where they're all hanging out. Okay. It's a couple of thousand feet away. Don't need to worry about throttling up yet. Great Southern Land. Yeah. I don't really know the lyrics to the rest of that song. Try to think of it off the top of my head, but it would have been awkward. Okay, I'm kind of surprised our weather radar isn't picking up anything. Like, I suppose it is meant to only pick up precipitation, but I would have thought it'd also pick up moisture. It could be that the recent update introduced a bug where the weather radar doesn't pick anything up. Not sure. Usually you'd see some patches of red and green and yellow here. Like I said, without actual flight experience, I'm not sure if this is a bug or if it's supposed to do that. Okay, getting close to 23,000 now. 500 feet above. Throttle up a bit. Throttle's about 40% N1. That's usually enough to stabilize our speed. And usually by then we'll be given instructions to descend further.
Cessna 250 descend and maintain 15,000 feet.
Here we go.
Descend and maintain 15,000 feet, Cessna 250.
Let's throttle back before we speed up too fast. Now that's kind of weird. I would have expected it not to start descending until I click the the vertical speed button. But again, could be a bug, not sure. Yeah, that's okay. Airspeed's looking good. Our altitude's looking good. We're about to go through the clouds here. Again, keep an eye on airspeed. Make sure we don't get iced up. Gotta say, that's kind of cool to see. Although, I'm a bit worried about the dark clouds here. Hope we're not flying into a thunderstorm. Oh, that reminds me, we should try and tune into Sydney AAAAHH, see if we can get some information about the weather we're flying into. So, I thought I had the tune on the emergency frequency. Oh, never mind. Let's try 11.55. Well, it says not in use, but maybe we're too far out to get the weather report so far. I'll try the other frequency just to be safe. 126.25. Also nothing.
Sydney Airport.
Oh, there we go.
Information call 21000. Wind 257 at 8. Visibility 6. Sky condition 1,000 feet. Scattered 4,800 feet scattered. Temperature 15. Dew point 13. QNH 29.902.
Okay, very good.
ILS runway 16 left and ILS runway 16 right in use. Landing and departing runway 16 left and runway 16 right. EXR aircraft, say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact. You have golf.
Okay, we have weather information Golf at Sydney Airport. Let's just tune the radio back here to the emergency frequency so we don't get that on loop constantly. And witness our descent through the clouds. Here it comes. To be fair, it's not really a massive cloud to be descending through. Yeah, altitude's still okay. Ah, here we go. We can descend through this big boy here. It'd be quite dramatic to have zero visibility. That's if we're already not at the bottom of this cloud already. Oh, here we go. Ooh. Now we're already falling out the bottom of it. Oh well. I guess we don't get to sit inside our own ball of fluff for too long. Okay, Acme, right turn. Approaching 16,000. Let's keep an eye on that altitude. When we get closer to 15,000, we'll have to throttle up again. And expect instructions for lower. Okay, there's 16,000. We'll get to 1550 before, sorry, 15,500, and then we'll throttle up. There's 600. That's 500. Throttle up again to about 40% N1. Watch the speed there. We don't want to be going too fast before we reach our assigned altitude. Come back a little. Okay, here we go.
9,000 feet.
Down to 9,000.
Descend and maintain 9,000 feet Cessna 250.
I'm onto you this time, autopilot. So I'll throttle back. 9,000 feet. Actually, the vertical speed. No, vertical speed. Down 15,000. Sorry, 1,500 feet a minute. Down to 9,000. Dink. That is still a glorious sunrise. Oh, we're getting ice on our windshield. Okay, so let me just turn the anti-ice on just to be safe. So wing anti-ice, pedostatic anti-ice. Yep, I meant to do that. And tail de-ice is inoperant. Of course it is. Only anti-ice. Okay, keep those on until we get to about 10,000. Should be clear once we get below those clouds. Can I say, from ground level, it's easy to forget that there are layers of clouds. When I was younger, I used to always think there was only like one layer of clouds and all the clouds sat at. But yeah, it's like being in a cloud sandwich. Okay, so what's our altitude now? 12,000 feet. Alright, very good. We can zoom in our waypoints here a bit. Alright. Alright, so these guys are definitely at Sydney Airport. Keep an eye out on altitude. So once we get to about 10,000, I might need to go a bit sterile cockpit on you. Although, to be fair, I've been pretty sterile the whole way across here. But you know what I mean. Yeah, a little bumpy. Although winds hasn't changed. Not sure how accurate that is. Again, not sure. Sometimes not sure if it's a simulator being buggy or if it's meant to do that. Okay, getting on 10,000 feet. Okay, that's 10,000. Handing lights on. Turn a logo light on as well. It's better visibility, even though it is early morning. And turn the de-icing off. Okay, throttle up a bit. Ready to reach our side altitude. Here comes the box. Keep an eye on our airspeed. Don't want to go too high, don't want to go too low. And keep it below 185. I think 175 is probably a good number to be at. Okay, so now we're slowing down. Let's increase our throttle.
Cessna 250, contact approach on 128.3.
Okay, being handed off.
128.3 Cessna 250. approach Cessna Victor Hotel, 2509,000 feet. Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 approach QNH 29er to continue to midset as planned.
Alright, so carry on. No altitude change yet so far, so we'll just stabilize at 9,000. That's a good speed to be at. Actually, I might throttle up a bit because we are pitching up a little. So the autopilot's trying to keep us steady at this altitude. But because we're going so slow... yep. Okay, down to 3,000.
3,000 feet, keep speed, not above 250, not Cessna 250.
3,000 please. Again, vertical speed. 1,500. Throttle back. Down to 1,500. Okay. We have some glide slope and localizer markers here. We're not going to worry about that too much until we're on our approach from around here. So we're going to fly to the airport, make a left turn, and then come all the way around to land on runway 16 right. Ooh, that's dramatic. Double check. He said keep speed. You're not above 250 knots. So that's the maximum speed limit for below two. That's your speed limit below 10,000 feet, as far as I understand it. So nothing too special about Sydney Airport. Okay. So just keep watch on our altitude and speed as we ascend. Also keep watching the clouds because they are pretty. Ooh. Okay, so that's 6,000 feet now. Should be able to start seeing, yeah, we can start seeing some buildings below us. Speed's looking good, 185. Altitude looking good. A bit shaky here. Wind indication here hasn't changed, but might be a bit of turbulence. Okay, getting close to 3,000 now, so again, get ready to throttle up. I might wait a little bit to throttle up because we are gaining a bit of airspeed now. Might also be because of the denser air that we're reading a higher airspeed. So Here comes the box. Here's speed dropping. When it gets to about 175, I'll throttle up. About there, okay. Throttle up to about 40%. Okay, speed climbing. I don't climb that high. Stabilize the speed. Oh, it's misty in Sydney today. Okay, this will make our landing kind of interesting. If we're going to land in this this morning mist. Of course, right now in Sydney it's about 1 a.m. So we have live weather for 1 a.m. even though at the moment it's probably closer to 7 a.m. in the simulator. We have a clock on here. Oh, UTC. Okay, I'm just going to throttle up a tad more so we're not pitched up as much. If we go to the external view, should be able to see the airport up ahead. Although I don't really see it. Okay, speed's okay, altitude's okay. I really shouldn't do that while we're at this point in landing. It's unprofessional. Should be focused on the instruments and on landing. But then again, I ain't a professional. Yeah. Yeah, still don't really see the airport, but that's okay. We'll be over flying the top of it anyway. And then making that left turn. So let's zoom this in a bit. So we're flying over the airport, making that left turn, coming all the way around, and then landing along this line here. That's the outer marker, I believe. Okay, expecting a left turn to come up pretty soon. What's that say? We're up to Erden. Okay, so once we track along here, I'll put us into approach mode, and that should let the autopilot fly us around this loop, and also catch our glide slope and our localizer. Now, in some autopilot systems, my understanding is you need to change your nav system from FMS or GPS, in this case, to be VOR instead. But I have found on this aircraft just simply switching this over. Oh.
Maintain present heading and altitude. Expect vectors ILS runway 16 right approach Cessna 250.
Now he says maintain present heading and altitude, but then they never give us any vectors. So we're just gonna, oh, there's Sydney Airport. So yeah, we're just gonna go wherever our autopilot takes us because that seems to work most of the time. Get a good view of the Opera House from here. Can't really see it yet. Yeah, We'll try getting a little bit closer. Okay, so our initial approach fix is Erden, and our GPS is tracking towards that. So I'm going to try putting this into approach mode. And while we're here, let's check our heading. So we're on my 16 right, is a heading of 155. Come on, come on. Okay. 155, and our missed approach procedure is to track 155 at 600 feet. Okay, so and then climb 3,000 or as directed by ATC. Okay, we'll keep our altitude set to 3,000 feet then. So we've got missed approach, then we'll just throttle up, take the autopilot into heading mode, and climb. Oh, there's the Opera House. Very nice. Good morning, Sydney. Okay, so we have glide slope and localizer. So we want these to be centered when we're around the time we get to Erden. I'm sure the residents of Sydney love me buzzing them this altitude so early in the morning. Frame rate's chugging a bit because we have all these urban landscape and buildings to render. Okay, our glide slope's starting to come in. This should, we expect this to go a bit above this middle line, and then as we come back in, for it to settle back in the middle line again. Now as we get closer to the runway, we're going to descend to about 500 feet. There should be a call out from the computer. And at that point, I'll turn off the autopilot and take manual control and land the plane on the runway myself. Okay, there goes the glide slope. Zoom in any further. Oh, here we go. Okay. So here comes that big wide left turn. Any moment now. Just make sure we've got everything else configured. All our lights are configured. Okay. Get to Erden, gear down, and flaps 15 at Erden. Be nice to live on the beach there, wouldn't it? I don't know how much waterfront property goes for in Sydney these days. Probably about the same price as a plane, I imagine. Anyway. Okay, so keep an eye on our speed. 180 seems about okay. Altitude stable. Looks good to me. Yep, you can see Sydney Airport over there with the flashing lights. Still some fairly low clouds in Sydney this morning. Well, we shouldn't have any trouble seeing the runway, so I'm not too worried about that. As we're closer to Erden, we expect to see the localizer line up towards the center here. Again, I'm sure these people here love me buzzing their homes at this altitude, at this time of day. Whether it be simulated time of day or actual time of day. Right now, the actual time would be 1 AM in Sydney. But of course in the simulator it's probably closer to 7:30 maybe. Yeah, still have side of the airport over there. Okay, very good. Okay, it's getting close to Erden now. Should start seeing movement of the localizer soon. A bit bumpy.
250, you are 15 miles north of Sydney. Maintain present heading and altitude. Contact Sydney Tower on 120.5.
Okay, contact the tower.
Maintain present heading and altitude. Tower on 120.5 Cessna 250.
Hello,
Sydney
tower.
Tower Cessna Victor Hotel, 250, 14 miles north inbound ILS runway 16 right approach. Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 Sydney Tower. QNH 29er, 2 wind 257 at 8. Cleared ILS runway 16 right approach.
Okay, cleared for the approach.
Cleared ILS runway 16 right approach Cessna 250.
That's Erden. So gear down. Green. Okay, I can turn off the lights on my dash now. And we'll go flaps 15. I'll throttle up a bit as that'll increase our drag. But this should also decrease our airspeed. There we go. Localizer's alive. Now when we get to our final approach fix, there's AAAAHH here. Oh, it's captured our glide slope. Very good. So now we'll start descending. So we'll probably throttle back a bit since we'll be heading down. When we get to AAAAHH here, we can increase flaps to flap 30 and get ready for landing. You see the runway up ahead there? Throttle back a bit, try and control our speed. Okay, captured localizer. And remember, we're looking for a speed of 115 and get to the runway. So throttle back a little more. Okay, that's AAAAHH, flaps 30. Watch our airspeed drop. Don't want to drop too fast, so we'll throttle up a little bit. Okay, 120, so we want to go to about 115.
Cessna 250, wind 257 at 8. Cleared to land runway 16 right.
Okay, clear to land.
Cleared to land runway 16 right, Cessna 250.
Throttle a little bit, we're going a bit slow there. Is that the outer marker again? Or maybe that's a middle marker, I'm not sure. Usually there's a display that lights up, but we don't have it on this aircraft as far as I know. Okay, going a bit slow, get a bit more power. This landing might be a little rough when I take manual control, but we'll see how we go. Let's get a bit more power there. Our poppy light's looking good. Lights are looking good, localizer looking good. Okay, close to 500 now. I might leave the autopilot on just a little bit longer given how much the plane's rocking around. Okay, go a bit fast, throttle back. 500. There's 500. Okay, autopilot off. My aircraft. I think that's the inner marker. Okay, airspeed's still looking good, a little high. A little off to the left, let's see if we can correct for that. Okay, a little low. Off the side a bit, we're not going to quite hit the center line. That's okay, I'll straighten up. Okay, throttle back. Flare. Back. Wait for the kathunk. Spoilers. Brakes. Okay, retract flaps. Retract spoiler. Yeah, that's retracted. Okay. And let's get off the runway.
Cessna 250, contact ground on 121.7.
Okay, we're on taxiway Bravo 7. Let's just get off the runway first and stop around here. These hold short lines here. Park brake on. And let's get some directions of parking. So, ground on 121.7. Okay, taxi to parking.
Sydney ground, Cessna Victor Hotel, 250 taxi to parking.
That's
Cessna
Bravo.
Victor Hotel, 250 taxi to general aviation parking by taxiway Bravo 8 Bravo Kilo Charlie, cross runway 25 Charlie Golf Delta Oscar Mike 5.
Okay.
Taxiing to general aviation parking using taxiway Bravo 8 Bravo Kilo Charlie, cross runway 25 Charlie Golf Delta Oscar Mike 5 Cessna 250.
So we've come off at Bravo 8. You see Bravo 8 Kilo Charlie. Okay, Bravo 8, we're here. Up to Kilo. And then off to Charlie. Cross runway 25. So cross here. And then taxiway Golf. And then to the Dom Farm terminal here. Okay. So at least Sydney Airport's taxiways are labelled properly. Alright, park brake off, the throttle. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the plane has come to a complete stop at the parking. What the hell's going on with the cars over here? Yeah, just appearing out of the middle of nowhere. Okay, while we're here, turn off the strobe. Turn off our logo lights. Oop! Oh, missed our turn. Oh, this is going to be ugly. Okay, phew. For a second there I thought we were going to go into that sign. And this is why you should do stuff while you're parked with the park brake on. There's Kilo. Not while you're in motion. Okay, here comes runway 25. Now you're supposed to stop at the hold short lines before crossing any runways. So we're going to stop here. Park brake on. Now what you should do, as far as I understand, is contact ground and ask for permission to cross the runway. Or was it contact tower? I don't know, either way. But we don't have an option to do that. And as far as I know, they never yell at me for crossing a runway without clearance. So we're just going to YOLO it. And hope that no one crashes into us as we cross. Okay. Looks clear. Let's go. Yeah, it's clear. Sneaky, I am sneaky like ninja. I was never here. Okay, so into here, this is what? Golf. Okay, to Golf. I do like the attention to detail with all the ground vehicles at the airports. It's kind of cool. gone a bit fast there. Slow us down a little. Okay, and here's the Dom 5. So in we go. And our spot is over there. Alright, so let's slow down a bit so we don't end up shooting past it. Yeah, we have a marshal there. Okay, he's going to wave us in to this side. Okay, keep coming. A little more to the left. Alright, keep going, keep going. And stop. Park brake on. Okay, and we're ready to shut down our plane. So, shutting down, just the reverse of starting up. So we'll go ahead and turn off our lights there. Oh, I should have turned off landing lights when we came off the runway. Never mind. Alright, so shut off the left engine. Shut off the right engine. Okay, and shut off our avionics. And we should also have to shut off the master switch, but that is that. So, welcome to Sydney. Thanks for flying with me today. Hope that was enjoyable for you. And enjoy your stay. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.